Hi, everybody. Welcome to a mini episode of No Story is Sacred. If you've never listened before, we're usually four siblings who grew up talking about the art of storytelling. Now that we're adults, we're still talking about it, and we're inviting you to join the conversation. Welcome to a mini episode. I'm Kat, and I love horror.
I'm Brendan, and I'm okay with horror.
And I'm Alex, and I have a certain brand of horror that I like.
Today, Pippin is hiding on a secret island lair, surrounded by authors, editors, and other eldritch horrors, so we're taking the opportunity to talk about her least favorite subject, if you can't already tell, horror.
Though she is the one that has the murder hallway.
Yeah, she kind of sent us pictures of a hallway of doom. Apparently there's a kitchen at the end of it. It's just kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So she has all the adventures. We just have to watch from the sidelines and I guess enjoy it more than her?
And she's also the one that has the fairy circle.
That's true. What's up with her life?
I don't know.
Pip, stop stealing all the cool shit.
Pip, you be you.
Because in very certain circumstances, the Fae can be horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Certain circumstances? All circumstances.
Most. But anyway, so long story short, Pippin's not here. So while Pip's away, let's just talk about horror.
I thought you were going to finish that with the mice will get their heads cut off.
Wow, that's a little dark.
I told you I like horror.
And,
okay, so this is a mini episode. We don't do a big rigmarole.
A big deal.
So I gotta ask you guys, I've already established that I love horror, and I'm willing to talk about why. But Brendan, why are you okay with horror?
Well, the over-reliance on jump scares is something I don't really care for, and also anything that's overly gory, I just lose interest in. Now, if it's campy and all that, cool, whatever. If it's psychological, okay, that's awesome, also awesome too. It's just, I don't know, it just feels, I just don't care for it.
Fair enough. Alex, you said that you had a thing.
Well, my horror I like specifically is more along the lines of psychological and surrealist horror. Mm-hmm. Like Japanese horror video games, like Silent Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Or Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, which goes, yeah.
So what's weird is that Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared didn't bother me at all.
Ooh, and it's got blood. No jump scares, though.
It's puppet.
Puppet blood.
Well, the first episode had literal meat being covered by glitter.
It was a heart. It was a heart being covered in glitter. And finally, I love horror because, to me, it is very formal. It's a very formalized form of storytelling. It's right up there with romances. If you look at my Netflix queue, I have romantic comedies and horror movies because I think they are essentially the same thing. They are
nothing in between.
Nothing in between, because they've both got a really formulaic method with clear characters and character tropes, and they both dive into what, the really back-brain human stuff, which I am fascinated by.
I guess because we're doing a mini-sode here, I guess we can just keep it relatively...
Latent take.
That's weird. Let's talk about a favorite trope.
Yep. Favorite trope.
A favorite trope in the horror genre. So, Kat, why don't you start us off with a favorite trope of yours, because you seem to be really gung-ho into this.
Thank you. Yes. I am a huge fan of the monstrous child. I don't know if that's the official name for it. That's certainly what I call it. Basically the uncanny, the weird, the child that does not act naturally. And
so like the kid in the Babadook, that kind of thing?
Well, the kid in the Babadook is a sort of different creature, because he is a kid in the middle of a fantastic experience. I would say, Children of the Corn, Monsters Children.
Okay.
The, vampire girl in, not What We Do in the Shadows. That's a different vampire movie. Let the Right One In. And to a certain extent, I would also say the two girls in Beautiful Creatures.
Okay.
where they have a folie à deux murder situation. So that's my thing.
Cool. What's a folie à deux?
It's a French term. It means, and thank you, the X-Files. It means a madness shared by two. It's basically when you have two people who are their psychosis or hallucinations or whatever are actually bouncing back and forth against one another, and they end up creating like their own. It's a real thing. Anyway, no, it's a psychological thing, and I believe it's called folie à deux.
Cool.
Anyway, so that's my trope. Alex, what's yours?
So as I mentioned earlier, it's psychological horror. It just gets into the brain. Mm-hmm. Instead of going for the short route of the amygdala or the insula, just tries to slowly creep in with her expectations, with her insecurities, and just crushes you.
Now, do you think that that's dependent on the culture you're in or the time period of the film, or?
You do have to have a certain amount of a cultural context in order for it to actually be effective.
I ended up watching Roman Polanski's The Apartment, I think, this month. I think that's what it's called. And yeah, I think it's supposed to be psychological horror, but I did not have the right frame to get that. Apparently it's supposed to be about the Cold War or something. I don't know.
Bren?
Let's see, a trope that I kind of like. That good old-fashioned inescapable horror kind of trope. You know, the just inevitability of it all.
Ooh, very American of you. Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. Stephen King.
Not really anything to do with that. It's just, you know, it's just the feeling of doom as it just kind of befalls the characters.
Yeah. So would Eldritch horror fall under that?
I'd say so.
Yeah, like in Eternal Darkness.
Yeah, it definitely that, yeah.
Oh, what's Eternal Darkness? I don't know that one.
That is a horror video game from the GameCube era. Very much Eldritch horror kind of game. And no matter what, pretty much if you're playing a main character in that game, they're more or less doomed to have a not so happy ending. They might win, but it won't be happy.
Yeah. All but like
3
or 4, like, we don't see die on screen. We don't know of their fates after that.
Except for Dr. Edwin Lindsay.
We memed the fuck out of him.
Yes, we did.
Cool. So we talked about horror that we like, but what about horror that frightens us? Not just... Let's see.
I got one.
Oh, yeah. We all got one.
Do you mind if I go?
Yeah.
And this isn't even... You know, I guess we'll have that one after this for horror that we just do not care for. But something that gets me are the being buried alive.
Ooh.
Like remember that Ryan Reynolds film?
Which one?
The one where he's kind of buried alive.
We'll look it up later. It turns out to be Buried Alive 2016.
Something like that. Literally buried alive, but just the notion of still alive and there's just, that's just kind of horrible. Doesn't help that it's just like probably one of the worst ways you can probably go, where it's just tying into that inescapable element from the other thing.
Yeah.
Alex, what you got?
Okay. Kat, you're actually...
I know yours, actually.
Yeah. It is social horror.
What's that?
So there was a movie that Kat was watching, wherein that was a fairly standard ghost girl haunting for no real reason. But one of the things that it did was that the ghost started isolating the main character from pretty much all social groups.
For instance, the ghost was like putting up fake messages on Facebook and stuff like that, talking about how everyone was terrible. And
using her Facebook account to like the Ghost Girl's suicide video and resend it. But it's also part psychological, which is again my favorite thing. So we see another connection there.
What you like is what you hate is what you love.
Yeah.
So
that's me, Kat.
It's a little hard to pin down what I don't like in horror because I do like so much of it. However, based just on my Netflix preferences, I am unlikely to click on or save anything that has like really grotesque faces. I don't know, like really I don't like a lot, like I saw The Thing, I like The Thing, but I don't like the grotesqueness of the creature. I think I have a problem with,
body horror?
Well, here's the thing, I love body horror. I like writing it, when there's like insects and doing gross things. I don't like unnatural, monstrous bodies. It is the uncanny valley of humanity.
Yeah.
Physical, that's what it is. It's the physical uncanny valley where this is not right. I can like it when there's things like in the movie Annihilation with the creepy bear. Love that. But when it comes to humans, it freaks me out. I also don't like masks. But I like it, but I don't like it just on the cusp of it makes me uncomfortable in a way that I enjoy.
Okay.
But when it's actually physically, like a physical change, not just a mask, that's where I go, no.
So Jim Carrey's The Mask, horror or not?
No, he's wearing a mask, so it's okay. It's just Jim Carrey.
So what's the third grouping of tropes to talk about during this minisode?
Well, I think I said it earlier about tropes that we absolutely hate. Not just that they freak us out, but that we don't dislike as used as a.
We just kind of go ugh.
As storytellers, we're like, no.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to think about this one.
Bren, do you have anything?
I generally do not like gore fests. I think it's kind of cheap. I don't really care for it. Maybe it's also just a product of my own overactive imagination or something where it's like, ooh, that's painful. Ooh. But like, I don't really care for it. I mean, I think you can get away with so much better just having the story itself be the scary part. Now, that being said, if it's like, maybe like a salt, like you don't want to have too much of it, but just a little taste, whatever. But like, oh gosh, like I kind of nope out when I see like the Hellraiser movies, for instance.
Oh wow.
What's your thought on like Scream, for instance? Scream, I thought that was my first interaction with really bloody film.
I don't really care for slashers.
Okay.
No.
Huh.
No, give me, like Al said, like the more psychological stuff where the violence is almost like the punctuation rather than just the paragraph.
And I take it horror porn is right out, the Saw movies, anything like that.
No. God, no.
I admit I do not like those either, and that might have to do with the body aspect, the monstrous bodies.
It's like gratuitous.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the first one a psychological horror though?
No, they're still, yeah.
They're psychological, but they're mostly about, it's torture porn.
Well, no, the first one, I mean. The first one.
Pretty sure the first one too.
I mean, he saws off his own leg, I mean.
Hence the word saw.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have something, Al?
For me, it is the attempt to, put moralization. A lot of good stories, attempt to teach a lesson or a moral or something. But what I dislike is using that by creating straw men of
vices?
Yeah, vices of people we don't like and having them get murdered. Like the Cabin in the Woods explained it.
Oh, the virgin lives, the slut dies, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Because not only is it, outdated, but also it's just lazy.
I mind when it's unexamined. I don't mind when the tropes appear, but I like it when they are examined. So, for instance, Cabin in the Woods. It was a discussion.
Well, they were deconstructing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree, Al, that it can feel pretty lazy. Again, kind of, I think the reason why they do it is that it kind of ties into the story concept of like man versus nature or man versus self, that kind of thing. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like they're trying to take a shortcut for that by having all these character archetypes and cliches. But then it just comes across as just like, oh, they're just checking the box.
Well, also, you're the person who's killing all the vices is a killer.
Yeah.
So should he be taking lessons from Jason Voorhees?
But on the other hand, by the nature of the genre, people must die, and so I think that there's a concern on the part of the authors as to, well, people have to die. Who do I kill off? Now, if you don't examine that, it's easy to kill off the traditional people, so to speak, because that's, the way that's been. But on the other hand, you also have to be careful, like, do you kill off the no, she's not a slut, but she is a character of color. Kill her off. Oh, it's a girl. Kill her off. Like, oh no. And so I think people find safety in the old values, because then you can just say, oh, that's a trope. That's the only reason I'm doing that, as opposed to examining any other reason why you're killing off this particular character first or whatever.
Yeah.
I think you have to be very smart, basically, with horror. Otherwise...
Yeah. Because there was one video game that was very well made, very well received, but I was not able to get into it. What was it? Bren, do you remember the one with the Wendigo?
Until Dawn.
Yeah. It had Rami Malek in it.
Ooh.
It did.
Yeah. And he did very well. But no,
it did a good job, kind of, I wouldn't say, defying the trope expectations, but it definitely leaned into that expectation and then kind of gave you the opportunity to play with it as a player.
The two characters with the plot armor are for that cannot die until the very end of the game are two white kids.
Ugh.
True.
Yeah, so that's me.
Okay.
Okay, me. This might seem like a bit of I'm again thinking of things I just skip over as blah, blah, blah. I'm not actually that fond of the cabin in the woods trope. I genuinely, I generally don't like the makeup of kids who go off into the woods. I generally think they're kind of, I get caught up in how, that's not how you go camping in the woods. Any number of things like that. I just get distracted by people who've never actually stayed in the woods writing about being in the woods.
I don't know.
It takes me out of the story, and it's annoying.
So your suspension of disbelief, Eve, got cut off at the,
right
before.
At the cast. Now, this doesn't always, for instance, the Blair Witch Project, I absolutely loved, because the point was that these were stupid kids who are in the middle of the woods and shouldn't be. And then they are roundly punished for that. I approve of that.
See, yeah, what's funny is that I didn't really care for the Blair Witch Project. I'm part of that camp that found it pretty boring.
True story. True embarrassing story. I saw it in theaters, and I was one of those people who threw up in theaters.
TMI.
Look, man, I'm keeping it real. I think part of that one for me actually also it was very much caught on I have a big folkloric vein in me. So I think it caught very strongly on that for me. But I can see why other people didn't like it. So yeah. But that being said, a lot of people like Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I didn't particularly care for it. If I see we're all going to a cabin in the woods, I'm just like, oh, good.
What's funny is that, okay, this is where we're again opposites. Mm-hmm. I actually liked Tucker and Dale versus Evil because it was all making fun of it.
Well, I like Cabin in the Woods, but to be fair, I'm not sure whether or not I liked the cabin aspect or if I liked the business aspect that was going on as the secondary story.
Well, here's the thing. If those kids weren't selected and had just gone to a different cabin in a different woods, do you think they would have just had a alright time in a cabin?
Yeah, they would have just been drinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then it would have been that episode of New Girl, and they would have found the absinthe. The end. I don't know. I don't know. It's just not a thing that appeals to me. The suspension of disbelief is not one I can easily get over. Unlike other movies where I'm just like, this is fine. Popcorn, popcorn, popcorn.
What about Evil Dead?
Ooh. Honestly, I have not seen... I've only seen the second one.
Whoa.
I like the fantasy element. I like when he's in a store, again, the mundanity of evil. But I don't know much about the cabin aspect. He cuts off his hand, I guess. Then there's a motorcycle. Not a motorcycle. Then there's a chainsaw. That's all I know.
My cat, does that one horror movie that we saw that is great and then goes...
Oh, yeah.
Completely,
No, that doesn't count because isolated houses are different from cabins in the woods.
Okay.
I'm totally into isolated houses. I don't know, man. All of us are a little different. We all have weird things that make us tick or make us don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that's our thoughts on various tropes in horror.
Wait. Before we stop, I think that we should quickly pretend to be Pip and as if she had horror interests.
Freaky blinking lights.
Ooh, yep.
Yep.
Is that one she loves, hates, or is genuinely scared by?
Yes.
Carmen Miranda's ghost.
Oh, that's cheating. That one's real.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say that the idea of strange foods.
Yeah.
Is it poison? Is it blood? Who knows? Is it just...
Better take a bite.
Ooh, the scariest episode of Great British Bake Off.
Ooh.
Thank you, Pippin, for your fantastic contributions. And Brendan, that brings us to...
the outro. Yes. As always, if you have a story to submit, head on over to nostoryissacred.com/submission. Follow us on Twitter at nostoryiссacred, or you can send an email through contact@nostoryiссacred.com. Your hosts have been Alex McDonald, Brendan McDonald, and Catherine Crichton. Editing for this episode done by Brendan. Transcript is done by Ashley DaCosta. Art by Jay Wolf. Show notes and transcript are available at nostoryiссacred.com. Thanks for listening, everyone, and please rate, review, and subscribe to No Story is Sacred. You can also visit our Patreon page to support the show and get neat rewards at patreon.com/nostoryissacred. Until next time, where no story is sacred, and any story can be changed.
This was Pippin! This was Alex.
And this was Kat.
And we're... No story is sacred.
Is sacred.
No story is sacred.